we go from there. How does that sound?
You know, man, if you do it, you got my blessings, bro. You know that. Come on now.
Well, I appreciate that. Man. I appreciate that, man. So we're going to get started, man. So I got my mans here. We go way back from, 1992.
Yeah.
Before we go back to 1992, man, you talking about a lifetime.
Yes. And still going.
It's still going. That part, right? That part. And so, man, I appreciate you for joining. You know, as we get this kickstart this podcast that I started a couple of years ago, and it's evolved, right? So, thank you for joining the Daddy Durock Podcast, right? So, and I think it's only fitting that I get someone on the podcast who knows Durock, right? And Daddy Durock. And and our topic today is, and I think is a good one, but basically, protecting and serving, as a kid from Compton, and I think both of us have a experience of protecting and serving our different respective communities, and both being kids from Compton. And I think you and I have talked about this in the past, and it was like, we just need to put it out there because it's a meaningful conversation that needs to be had and needs to be shared. So without further ado, I just want to say that both of us work for entities, whether it be county, state, or federal agencies, and neither one of us are speaking on behalf of those agencies. We're speaking as individuals. So I just want to put that disclaimer out there. We're speaking as individuals. So without further ado, man, can you just introduce, who are you? Who do I have? Who do I have on this Zoom?
All right, man. Well, like I said, once again, I appreciate you for even giving me the opportunity to be on your podcast, man. That right there is a blessing, because who would have ever thought we would, 2024, will have your own podcast and we'll be talking about where we come from, man. We would have never thought about that. 1992, you would have told us that? We're like, what are you talking about? First off, it is a podcast, Second, we there. But yeah, my name is Rashad Cobbs.
RC Cola.
Hey, also known as RC back in the day. And even to this day, my girlfriend would say, what was the nickname? And I said, RC. And I said, so if you ever hear somebody call me RC, don't run, don't get scared. That's just somebody who knew me from the neighborhood. So
yeah. Man.
Yeah, man. That's it. What else you want to know about me? I know you know everything about me, but what else you would like me to put out there?
Yeah, so I don't, what do you want to put out there, right? So yeah, I know who you are. I know what you do, right? So, when we say protecting and serving, right? So what exactly do you protect and you serve?
So my current profession is I'm a detective with the San Bernardino Sheriff Department. I have been in law enforcement for approximately 15, going on 16 years now. And I started off with San Bernardino City PD. They were the ones who actually took me on, who put me through the academy. In 2012, I lateraled over from the police department to the sheriff department, where I'm currently assigned now. I've been through various assignments, from corrections to I've done a total of probably 9 years of patrol. I've been on the gang team. I've done narcotics, and I'm currently assigned to our public relations department. So, yeah.
That's what's up, man. That's a lot, right? So here it is, man. A kid from Compton, a detective in the sheriff's department, right? That's big. That's big. I mean, that story is not really put out there like that, right?
It's not.
So one of the things and we've talked about this before, but let's just talk about growing up in Compton and the experience we had with law enforcement, growing up in the city.
Yeah. So growing up in Compton, I'm glad that you mentioned that, because I always give this story. First, people always ask, why Rashad? Why law enforcement? What drew you to law enforcement, especially being African American? And I always say, you know what? I grew up in Compton in the 80s. And yes, I've been harassed. I've been pulled over. I was one of those kids that used to say, for lack of better words, F the police, because yes, that was my mindset at that time. But you know what? I figured if I can't beat them, I might as well join them.
Yeah.
That's where I am at to this day. As I know, we didn't see a lot of people in our community who look like us, right? And
Yeah.
so I always used to think, how can a person who don't look like me, who don't talk like me, who can relate to me?
Mm.
So, with that being said, I took it upon myself to say it was always plan B for me.
Yeah.
Of course, plan A was basketball. Back
Uh-uh.
to
Oh,
me.
Hooper. We're gonna talk about state champion right here.
Hey, let them know, D. Let them know.
We're gonna talk about two-time state champion over here.
Hey, let them
So,
know,
hey,
D.
we'll talk about that in a minute, though.
So basketball was always primary for me, and B was always my law enforcement was always a fallback for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of how I got to that set to where I'm at
Yeah.
right now.
Man, speaking of basketball, like first of all, I wasn't a hooper. We all know that, right?
What you
I,
talking about? What you playing? What you talking about? You
hey,
was
no,
out doing this.
I was a football player. I was definitely not no basketball player. However, we did. I mean, man, I think our first we was on together was at Enterprise Park. Shout out to
Yep.
Enterprise Park.
Oh yeah, Hoosiers.
Hey, the
Hoosiers.
Hoosiers. Hey, man, I tell you, man, every time when Mikey sent me that picture
Uh-huh.
of our team picture from
Yeah.
like what 6th, 7th grade or
Like
something like
seventh
that.
grade. I think it was seventh grade.
Man, I
Yes.
had number. I think what number was I? Was I 22 or you was 23?
I was 30. I wanted 23. Little Tommy had 23. I was 35.
Okay, so I was 22 on there, right? But we had some man, we had some glue in that squad, man. I
We
mean,
had
that was
some
a
good.
squad. That was a
So true.
squad.
So
I don't think I made a basket. But I think I used all my fouls though.
Hey, you was out there. You was there like that. You remember the movie Sunset Park with the hustle person? Hey, you was out there getting it though. That's what I'm saying. The
Hey,
hustle, man.
hey, and I think, and then in middle school we played on the team. I think 8th grade year I played basketball with Coach Moore,
Much more.
and them. And I never forget we played in the Compton Christmas tournament,
Oh yeah.
and our big men didn't show up. So man, I think I probably had a career high rebounds. Like, hey, shout out to Vanguard Middle School in
Hey,
Compton.
shout out to Coach Moore, man. We've
Man,
come across some gentlemen in our lifetime, bro. We have, man.
and I think that really, speaks volumes to who we are now, right? The men that we had in our lives growing up, and the community that supported us to the point where I think it influenced us being willing to be change agents,
Mm.
and get into different environments and agencies that protect and serve in a sense, right?
So for sure.
So kind of talk about, all right. So we went to middle school together. We went to Verb. Shout out to
Mhm.
Verbum Dei High School. Um, and then so what was like, growing up and going to Verb? What was that experience like for you? Because even though we went to school together, like we weren't in the same circles, right? We
Right.
knew, but it's like it's crazy.
Yeah.
But what was it like for you, in law enforcement, even at Verb?
So for me, Verb, you got to realize my older brother went to Verb. So and he was a basketball scholar. So I was always looked at as,
He won state champion too, right?
he won state champion too.
Okay. Shout out to the Cobbs. Oh, JC.
And so like I was always looked at, okay, is this, Jamal's little brother coming up? What is he gonna do? Right.
Yeah.
So I always felt like I always had like a like eyes on me. Like, okay, what is he gonna turn out to be like his brother, or is he just gonna be a dud? So
Right.
that's why I tried hard, bro. I tried real hard. Me and my brother, like you just said, everybody have different avenues. Of course, his avenue took him to a whole different place, and then at mine's, like you said, state champions 2 times. So I was kind of happy with my outcome, bro.
Yeah. And matter of fact, we beat Sarah too. So
And
anybody
we
who
beat Sarah. Yeah,
listening to this listen to this podcast,
yeah.
Junipino or jalapeno scare us, what I call it. We beat y'all. I never forget it. I left work at the airport
Yeah.
to come to that game at Verb that y'all try to get out of anyway.
Man, that game, man, when I tell you of all the games, I remember that Sarah game was, I have to say, one of the ones I remember, bro. I remember
Yeah.
like yesterday, dude, for real. It
Yeah.
was so packed, they stopped letting people inside the gym. People was outside the gym looking in, dude.
Oh yeah, without a doubt, I remember that, man.
Oh,
I
yeah.
worked. I was working at the airport at the time. I
Yeah.
took me an extended lunch break to come to that game, and then head back up to the LAX airport, Terminal 3, push some wheelchairs for that
Bro,
late night flight.
until you mentioned that the other day, I never knew you worked for LAX, bro. That's man,
Yeah.
it's a small world, dude.
Yeah, small world, man. I mean, we had the Verb connection at the Verb. I mean, at LAX
Man,
Superior
that is
Airlines.
true.
I worked there. Artemio worked there.
Did
Tuck
not
worked
know
there.
that.
Yeah, it's like the
Wow.
whole football team worked at the airport, pushing wheelchairs, and
Cheers.
throwing bags at the sky with the sky caps. Um,
Oh man.
yeah,
That's good
yeah,
stuff. Great
it,
stuff right
it
there.
is, man. It is. And so you leave high school.
Mhm.
I mean, he was always a good student too, right? I mean, I think even in middle school, you had good grades.
Yeah.
Um,
I was decent in middle school. Of course, at Verb, I had to pick it up because
right.
even though we were all boys school, we were competitive and everything. You can contest to this. Like,
Oh, without a doubt. If you was in an A group,
yeah, if you didn't have over a 3.0, even your own teammates looked at you like you dumb, right? So
yeah.
I had to like pick my GPA up, man. And I never forget. It was the one year, my junior year, when I was on board, and Coach Greenmore. Me, and I don't know if you remember this shield.
Yeah, well, Sean,
Yeah,
boo boo. Shout out to boo boo.
hey, so like my GPA got to like a 2.8, and I
Oh,
think
you was tripping.
yeah, I was tripping. I was tripping big time. And so Coach Greenwood, Greenwood pulled me to the side and was just like, "Yo, I can't have you looking like you the smartest dude on the team and being one of the dumbest dudes on the team. So you need." And when he gave me that talk, bro, it was a 3.5 plus from there, dude. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that was requirement, right? So that's one thing I loved about going to Verbum Dei. Um, Now, we all came from different neighborhoods. We happened to come from the same part of Compton, right? For the west side of Compton.
Yeah.
You was on one side of Central, I was on the other side of Central.
Mm-hmm.
Had folks from all over the folks. We had folks from the west side,
Yeah.
folks
Yeah.
from Watts,
Watts.
Carson, Southgate, right? Shout out to Ricardo. If you ever hear this, Ricardo, still love you,
Hey,
man. We
we
miss you,
still
bro.
we still looking for you, Rick Rock.
Hey, hey, I know where you are, but I may show up out there one day.
Hey, I'm gonna have to put out an APB on you, Rick Rock, man, because you don't be returning calls, bro. So
So, but at the same time, though, it was, in that time in the 90s, from 95 to 99,
Mhm.
Verbum Dei was a safe spot for us, right?
Right.
So you had folks like our local schools, the 10, Compton, Dominguez Hills, or not Dominguez Hills, but Dominguez High,
Yeah.
even schools close to us like Locke. They was having race wars, right? So the blacks versus the Browns, gangbanging was at an all-time high, right? So either the Bloods, Crips, or SA, period. It was no ifs, ands, buts about it, right?
Yeah.
But Verb was a place where we could go play sports, whether it's football or basketball, respectively, or even soccer. Shout out to the soccer team.
Yes,
Um,
sir.
Now Verb got a volleyball, golf. I'm like, man, we didn't have none of that shit,
Wow.
you
Yeah,
know?
I didn't even know that. Okay.
Yeah. And then track, right?
Yes.
All football players had to run track.
Right. Yeah.
Um, but we can also like you said, we push each other to excel in school, right? Now, how we excel, whether it's how we help each other out or
Yeah.
whatever it may be, A's and B's were the standard, right? Because we all knew we was going to college, period, right?
True.
We was doing something outside of Verb.
It was so much of a competition too. If you didn't go to college, you got looked down on. So that's what made it great, man.
Yeah, but we still loved you, right? But we
We
said, hey,
still love
man,
you, of course, of
yeah.
course.
And so yeah, man. So I think those experiences at Bird really kind of helped mold us, right? Because I think we had, gentlemen and different men in our lives, whether it be, your dad and your brother and your uncles.
Sure.
But at the Bird, we had so many great men, whether it be from, Coach Greenwood, who was a Verbum Dei alumni,
Sure.
Daddy Max, whose son went to Verb and was an NFL player.
Yeah.
Coach Lowe, rest in peace. Daddy Max, rest in peace, right? And Coach Lowe had all these different men that he helped, from boys to actual men.
Mhm.
They poured into our lives, and the different alumni who came in and poured into our lives and taught to us, right? So
Yes.
when we were starting to, because we all knew, like, if you had some potential, folks was taking into you, and
Mhm.
then when you start doing dumb stuff,
Yes.
you would get talking to,
Oh, that
right?
is true. That is true.
I remember we did some stuff during PE
Uh-huh.
there on the football field,
Okay.
and the continuation school next door, they had the security guard caught us doing some stuff we had no business doing. And, and then K Dub at the time was the dean of students.
Okay. Oh, I
Rest in,
remember K-Dub. Man.
yeah, rest in peace, Mr. Williams. But
Yes.
yeah, instead of kicking us out of school, instead of suspending us for so many different days, we had after school detention, right?
Wow.
Because they knew that we had potential, but we were just being young and
True.
dumb.
Now, what
Uh,
grade was that? Do you remember?
oh, I remember it was 12th grade.
Oh, it was 12th grade. Okay, so a lot of people don't know this, but tell them we used to still get SWATs back in the day.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, Mr. Wooten. Oh, Mr.
Like
Wooten, rest
Mr.
in peace.
Wu, yes.
Yeah, yeah. That
Yeah,
was that was that was freshman year.
that was
I
freshman year.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I never got a SWAT.
I got a SWAT. I got a SWAT, bro.
Yeah, yeah. I think freshman year I was too. I was going through my pretty boy stage. I had a
Got
curl.
you.
I had grew my hair up. My mom put an S curl in. So
Yes, sir.
yeah, I was trying to get to every single St. Mary's thing as I can get to.
You and me both. You and me both, bro, for real.
So what was like once you left Verb?
Mhm.
What did you do? Where did you go? And obviously, your goal was to eventually, continue to play basketball, right?
Yeah.
So how did
So,
you use basketball after Verb to get you to where you are now?
after I graduated from Verb, I ended up going to a junior college out in San Diego. It's called Palomar. I did my 2 years there, played um, uh, 2 years there, got my AA degree, and then I got recruited to go to San Diego State. I went to San Diego State, but I only did 4 months there because when I got there, I'm not gonna lie, my head was bigger than what it was, right? And so my game, I thought, man, I'm about to go in there and I'm about to do some things. Well, me and the coach, actually assistant coach, started getting into it because I felt that I was better than the guards they had at that time. And so
Mm,
I was just like, well, if I'm not going to get my shot and I'm going to sit here, and I had the red shirt. I mean, if I'm just going to sit here, and I was like, I'm just going to go somewhere else. So my brother, who like I mentioned, was a basketball scholar. A lot of coaches knew him. He knew the coach down at here in San Bernardino, Cal State San Bernardino.
mhm.
So they reached out to me and said, hey, would you like to come play for us? I was just like, sure. And they was like, but you got to redshirt your first year because you, as I know, coming from one university to another one, you got to redshirt that first year. So
Right.
I came out redshirt, uh, and lo and behold, the coach that brought me here gets a big time job at Long Beach State. So he
Wow.
leaves, and
Wow.
another coach come in. So I'm back to square one again. And this coach that
Yeah.
came in brought all his players from San Bernardino Valley College.
Okay.
So I'm back to square one again. But I did play a year because I had that scholarship. And then after that, I was just like, man, you know what? I'm just gonna finish school, which I did, and then got into law enforcement.
Okay. So what'd you get your degree in?
I got my degree in criminal justice.
Okay. And then
Yeah.
so at what point did criminal justice, you say, hey, I want to do something in criminal justice.
Yeah, so like I said, law enforcement was always plan B. So
Okay.
after basketball, I knew that okay, well, you know what? I had little temp jobs, like I was or I did armor security for a minute, and I also was a counselor. I was a domestic violence counselor. And
What?
yeah, so my girlfriend at the time, who is now a child psychologist, she worked for this agency that was trying to take on counselors. Well,
Yeah.
I only had my BA, I didn't have my master's. And so she was just like, hey, he's trying to get into law enforcement. He's good with people. What you think about him being a counselor? Man, I was a domestic violence counselor and a marriage therapist. Yes. Your boy who's never been married was a marriage therapist, bro. Oh man, it was wild. But you know what? It taught me a lot. I think that's where I got my people skills from because I really got to
Okay.
sit and talk to people, listen to
Right.
people's stories,
Right.
and find out we're all different, bro. We're all
Right.
different, and so I
Yeah.
think that gave me me getting into law enforcement, that opened my head up a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what's up, man. And then so this is a couple years now after finishing your degree at Cal State, San
San
Bernardino.
Bernardino. So I got into law enforcement. I finally got picked up by San Bernardino Police Department. I want to say about a year later, about a year and a half later.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And you started on the street. So what was that like? Let's say your first couple years as a cop, right? So growing up, um, I don't know any people who truly hated the police. In a
Yes.
sense, I think we feared the police because
True.
we saw what the police can do.
That
Because the
is
big homies was always dealing with the police because the
exactly.
big homies were doing things, big homies did, right?
Exactly.
Um, so I don't think it was that necessarily scary. It was just more fearful because it was an unknown commodity.
True.
So what was it like for you being a black dude in the early 2000s,
Hmm.
cruising the street, right?
Yes. So first, for me, I would have to say you got to realize we're talking early 2000s, and we just left the 90s. So back then, we all know back in the 90s, what all happened. You had the Rodney King, you had a lot of big riots back in the 90s.
Right,
Right? So that still is trickling over to the early 2000s. Well, you still have a lot of law enforcement that's on edge, right?
mm,
So you got me, this kid from Compton,
right,
because no matter where you're from, if you say you're from Compton, everybody want to know who and what you do, right?
right,
And so I was looked at as the Compton kid, and they wanted to see, hey, you want to see how you can prove yourself. Um, on the same note, law enforcement is a brotherhood. Let's just be real. It is
yeah,
a brotherhood. They don't accept just anybody in here, right?
right,
It's brotherhood, and so going into that brotherhood, they want to know who they have out there because at the end of the day, we are protecting each other's lives. We're not only
right,
protecting citizens of San Bernardino, but we're protecting each other's lives because
right,
we're the front man on the line.
right,
And so I put that out there to say, you got this new kid who's don't have nobody in law enforcement in his family. He's
hmm
out there and he's learning how law enforcement works. On
right,
top of, you got the community saying, why are you doing that?
mm,
You know, you think you're better than us. Who are you?
right,
You know, you got another Uncle Tom out here, right?
right,
So it was a lot that I had to digest, bro, but it all came around.
yeah. How did you digest it?
I think honestly, talking about at my girlfriend at the time, talking about things with her,
Okay,
you and I both know I've always been one of those kids that I'm a jokester. I love to
right,
laugh, I love to smile. So I really never took things to heart. And like I
mm,
said, growing up, doing those domestic violence classes and those marriage therapist classes I was doing, I was facilitating, I should say.
yeah,
It taught me a lot about people to know that things are not personal.
right,
This is a business. This is a job. I'm out here doing my job. I don't know this person for Adam, right? Because the
yeah,
crazy part about it is those same dudes that was calling me names, when I'm out in the uniform and I see them at the barbershop, because I live here in the city. Right?
yeah,
And when I see them at the barbershop, they don't know me from the next person. I'm
right,
just a homie at the barbershop, right?
yeah,
And so we all good at the barbershop, but if they see me in the street, they didn't know that I was that same dude at the barbershop you were just giving that to.
right,
So that's how I judge it. It's nothing personal, bro.
yeah. That's cool, man. Kind of separating and being able to just be true to yourself, right?
Sure.
One thing I have always just, I would say, know about you is you've always been kind of like that calm, even keel dude, right? Uh,
I try to be.
but I think that goes really back to what I know of your pops, right? Your pops was like that enforcer,
Yeah,
ensuring that his boys at the Cobbs, boys was going to be good.
true.
Um, and since like I say, since middle school, Mr. Cobbs was always. Um,
The enforcer, bro. The enforcer, man. And it's funny you mentioned that because we would say things like, I was just out there this past weekend for Easter, and we always would sit and be talking about the old days. And we always like, man, Dad, you were strict. And he'd be like, no, I wasn't. And like, man, you were strict, but you asked him today, he think he wasn't, man.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. Mr. Cobbs has always been a good dude, man. That's what's up. So you say you was just back home this past weekend.
Yes.
And what is it like being a cop and going back home? And some of the folks that we know, we all love them.
Yes.
But unfortunately, some folks, still have that mentality towards the police. How do you deal with that?
You know what, man? Honestly, when I go back home or when I just talk to my friends out here, I get the keep it up, brother, keep doing a good job.
Yeah.
I don't really get a lot of flack for being a black guy who's in law enforcement. I get keep it up. We need more like you, because they're not all like you. And they're right. I work with some bad apples. I'll be the first, second, and third to tell you, yes, there is some jokesters in my department and other departments that I think ruin the name, ruin the badge,
Right.
And we don't need them in a department.
Right.
I have other brothers and sisters that I work with. We'll be the first to say, hey, that's that guy. That's not us.
Right.
Don't label us with that, associate us with that particular gentleman. So, yeah.
And that's what's up, man. I mean, I was fortunate enough to come down to the Sheriff's Academy and facilitate a discussion with some recruits. So I appreciate that. I got a chance to see firsthand experience, right?
And we appreciate you, bro, for real.
Man, I come down again. Only academy I've ever been to or saw was Police Academy, right? Was the movie on High Time? We'll start calling you. I'm gonna start calling you Jones.
Hey, Jones. I would start beatboxing and doing all types of stuff, making things with my voice, bro.
But I think and we talked about this before, but it now is just really put it on the podcast, and whoever will listen, throughout however long it is up. But if you want to be that change, you have to create that change.
Got to create that change. You do. You do.
Yeah, and that's in whatever profession, right? Because when we sit back and look at the folks that we know and we still communicate with from the city, who have left and experienced life, our outlooks. We're still the same person that we were, whether it be from whatever line on side of Central that we came from. But we have been exposed to the point where it's more than between Elsie Gondo and Rosecrans, and between Tejada and Stanford Avenue. It's so many more things out there that we can experience and see, and our impact on others is far-reaching. And I'm sharing from. I'm just thinking about a patient recently, and he told me, he was like, "Hey, I chose you because you looked like me," right? And I think that can get us in the door.
Yes.
But it's our personalities that allow us inside the door.
There you go.
Because there's a saying, all skin folk ain't kin folk.
That's hey. Preach. Preach.
And just no two people are alike. So just because, we wear this badge, as one person has done some things that are inappropriate, doesn't mean that everybody else who wears the badge is inappropriate. Same thing with the military, right? Being doing what I've done in the military for so long, and I'm just a psychologist, been in the healthcare field. But how do I sit there and still help these individuals, right? I love telling people at the end of the day, I'm just a kid from Compton.
There you go.
Because I think I really believe that Compton has this rap that nothing good comes out of it.
Yeah.
And it's so much good that has come out the city of Compton.
Wow. And it's starting to flourish now as time goes on. You're starting to see, look at these entertainers, look at people in the sport field, not even that, just in a working or career field like us. There's a
Right.
lot of greatness that come out of Compton. And it's funny you mentioned that, dude, because I also say the same thing. When I'm teaching that class, the one that you came, first thing
Yeah.
I say is, I'm just a kid from Compton. I'm no different from none of you guys. You know,
Right.
it's funny how we've never heard each other say that, but we say that.
Yeah.
How crazy is
It's
that?
crazy, man. That's crazy because it's true, right? That's who we are, man. That's who we are. So, but man, if you can say, like, use this as a recruiting pitch for
Mhm.
some young kids, whether it be in high school, college, or a couple years out of college, and they're looking for a career field, whether it be Black, white, Hispanic, Asian,
Yes.
whatever the ethnicity, nationality. Why should they consider law enforcement?
And once again, when I give this is just Rashad Cobbs. This is my disclaimer. This is nobody else because, like we've mentioned a few times, we're different. We came up from different avenues and we're different people. My thoughts on why law enforcement I think you should get into is first off, you provide a service to your community. And not as a service to your community, but you're doing something and not asking for something. You
Mm,
do it out of the greatness of your heart, right? Of course, you're getting a check. You have a career. You're able to put more food on the table and clothes on your back. But not only are you doing that, you're doing that out of the kindness of your heart, and you're doing that to make your community better. Because if you don't do it, who's going to do it? And if you're going to be that person that says, "Hey, we don't want people in here destroying our community," well, then you need to be the change. You need to be the one that says, "Oh, you're right. I don't want an outsider out here coming patrolling my community. I want to do it myself." But if you don't do it, we got to have somebody to do it because law is law, and it's going to be here when we're dead and gone. But the law is going to be here. So that's my pitch to that.
well, RC, I appreciate it, man. I thank you for joining the Daddy Durock, podcast.
Yeah.
And I just want to say, it's okay to not be okay, but it's not okay to be not okay alone. So if you need somebody, you need to talk to somebody, reach out, reach out and touch somebody's hand, make this world a better place. All right, man. Well, I appreciate it. We'll go ahead and we're going to make this a wrap.